Welcome to the Graduate Research Design course. This is the first instructional video that's going to help you learn a couple of databases and search tools that will help us find our research article that we're going to work on for our replication. The first place to start for all this is we're going to use a couple different things. We're going to use Google Scholar, and we're also going to use the Oklahoma State Library. But first, let's start with Google Scholar. Google Scholar is a very useful product that we'll be using throughout this semester. And what that does is it allows us to search and find research articles. And so I'm going to do a couple searches and show you some articles that'll pop up, and that may be useful for finding a project this semester. So first, I'm going to look at a couple different topics that are just things that come to the top of my mind that might be useful to think about for a research project. So we're in political science, so the first thing I always think about is voting. So there are a couple different voting models out there. One is something called retrospective voting. Another is single issue voting. And so I'm going to do something along those lines just to show you how these tools work. I'm going to start by using retrospective voting. And so you'll go through and we'll see here, retrospective will pull up a whole lot of stuff. Mo Fiorina is the big guy here. And you'll see a lot of different questions involving that particular topic. So the nice thing about Google Scholar is it gives you some quick and dirty way to get to quick citations. One thing we want to look for is we want to look for the publication. And so like this one is American Political Science, American Journal of Political Science, AJPS. That's a good one. Political behavior. When you're looking for topics, you always want to do something that's published. So look for JOP. Political Research Quarterly is a good one. Comparative Political Studies, etc. You can click on these, and it will sometimes take you to an article, something like that. Sometimes it'll take you to the journal, and you can get an abstract here. Another nice thing about Google Scholar is it'll give you this queue for related articles. So maybe this big one by Fiorina is interesting, but you want to do something a little bit more narrow. So you can click on related articles and further tailor your search. So maybe you're interested in, I don't know, sociotropic politics or something along those lines. This is just a way to kind of reach out and find some additional articles. So Google Scholar is always a really good starting point. I'm going to show you another tool that's a little bit better. I'm going to stop right here. So we use Google Scholar to do some quick keyword searches, and it'll pull articles that are published, and it'll also pull you working manuscripts. And you can also follow those site link, which is related articles, to get to a whole bunch of different topics. The other thing that I want to show you is JSTOR, which is a really useful directory because it has almost everything in it, and it will give you full text copies of the articles, and so we need to use that. So just go to the Oklahoma State website, up in the thing, put in the library. We just created a new format for the web page for the library. So if we select on that, that'll get us here. And here you can do article searches. If you want to do a particular search for a journal, you can use this full text journal link. But right now I want to do this databases. I'll select on databases, and that's going to give me an alphabetical list. The one I'm looking for is JSTOR, which is under J, obviously. And so I'm going to click that, and I'm going to click just the simple JSTOR one. That'll give you a keyword search, but we want to do some advanced searches here because it gets kind of clumsy. You'll have your keywords and your Boolean language fields here. You can make these author, item title, abstract, or caption. Right? You can select articles, books, pamphlets, reviews. We're going to be working with articles. And then it has filters according to disciplines. And so if we go down here, we have one for political science. Okay. So I did retrospective voting for the other one. There's something known as single issue voting. And so maybe I want to put that in the title, right? And I'm going to look for research articles, and I'm going to look for those articles in political science journals. There's 225 political science journal titles in here. I'm going to do a quick search, and it'll give us back a whole series of articles here. And those articles um, will have PDF files associated with them so that we can go out there and get them now. Let's just take this first one from Johnson, single issue voting, elite mass languages. If we click on this link, it'll give you the abstract, right? So it'll pull it up. In this paper, we considered the abortion and ERA issues as examples of single issue politics, as well as the nature of single issue politics in general. We argue that many single issues are what others have called easy issues, but that hard issue voting as well as may be occurring on both issues. Okay, so what they're looking at is a combination of the idea of easy and hard issues and single issue voting. So they do a project here. That may be something you're interested in, may not, but it's one of those things where you can get the article here and go. So let's back that up. Say we want to know more. Let's download the PDF here. And so we will click that again, see what we get. Come on, baby. There we go. So you got to double click that thing, and so it'll take you here, and it'll go through, and we'll have, this is how articles are organized. They always start with kind of an abstract, then you have an introduction section, right? Then you have usually a theory, hypothesis section, right? And then later you're going to have something along the lines of, here they call it data, but it's going to be kind of your research design section, measures, etc. And then eventually in the end, you'll have some tables where they do some estimations and some questions and all that kind of stuff. And then you'll have some conclusions. And that's a typical research article. And so what we're going to do for this assignment is we're going to do the introduction section where we ask the question. We're going to frame the literature and the hypothesis, and then we're going to build the research design section. So we're going to be doing about the first 3 parts of a typical research project, but we're going to do it on the basis of some existing article. Say, for instance, that article or that search isn't working, and we want to do something that narrows this down and gets us into articles where we think we can work. One way to do that is just kind of add in another qualifier here. So in the next class for quantitative analysis, we're going to learn something called linear regression. And so linear regression is not a really complicated technique, and so if we're using linear regression, it tends to mean it's kind of it's got some heft to it, but it's not super complicated. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another qualifier in here for linear regression. And so I'm searching for single issue voting articles that have some aspect of linear regression in it, and I'm in political science journals. So maybe that'll take us and narrow our field down. Okay, the 2 issues of face voting, simultaneous models of issue voting. I like this question because it says issue voting under uncertainty and empirical test. That's exactly what we would like for this kind of a project. You want kind of a simple question. It's got some article has got a clear question up front, has a clear theory and a clear research design, because you're just going to build it and either try to replicate it for a different sample, or you're going to slightly extend it or change it some way and improve it. And so we're not going to do anything big here. We're going to kind of use what the previous article did for our template, but we're going to learn how to write these different sections and work along those lines. So good way to kind of improve your results or narrow them down is add in and do that additional linear regression topic, or add something like that to what it is. Maybe you don't want to do linear regression, or maybe you want to do qualitative. Maybe that'll get you to something that is a little bit different, right? Information special interest, and I don't know. So maybe that one will have it. But those are good techniques. Let's take one more look at something else that we might want to do here. Maybe it's not voting we're interested in, but maybe we're interested in executive orders. Want to do something along those lines. Let's do linear regression again. Sometimes executive orders are executive compensation. Ooh, so this is circumventing adversity, executive orders, and divided government. It's going to ask a question about the relationship between divided government and executive orders. This is in Presidential Studies Quarterly. That's not a really maxed out journal in terms of methods, and so something like that might be a really good article to look at. Question order and declining faith in elections. That's probably a measurement article. That's probably not real good. Executive orders and presidential power. That's something that might be useful. Maybe I'm really interested in that topic. I'll take that one and then I'll go download the PDF and I'll scan this thing and I'll look for the abstract first. I'll look at the introduction, see if it's got a clear research question, right? Kind of look through the theory, see how complex it is, right? What am I going to have to replicate here? Those are issues that you're going to want to look at. So those are all good things.